And we could not be more excited to be joined by the head coach at TCU, Sonny Dykes. And Coach, first off, thank you so much for carving out a window for us during a very busy time of the year for you. But we are at the point in the program now where we are getting to learn our new draft picks, both on the field, off the field. So let us begin here. Scouting report on our new friend Jack Bech is?
Yeah, you're going to like him. He's going to be one of those guys. He's going to be a great Raider. He's going to play hard. He's tough. Kind of reminds me of some of the old throwback guys with the Raiders. You're going to get his very best every day. He's going to make the room better. He's just one of those guys that you want on your football team. He's going to be the first one out on the practice field every day, last one to leave, first one in the meeting room. And then you're going to like his ability to convert all that stuff to games. He's going to make plays on third down. He's going to make tough contested catches. He's going to be consistent. He's going to take care of himself off the field. So you're going to get his best on the field. He's kind of the consummate pro, mature guy, like I said, great leader, and just an incredibly fun, vivacious, raise the temperature in the room guy.
Coaches, we've kind of virtually popped around the United States here, getting to know our draft picks and talking to some of their position coaches, head coaches, coordinators, et cetera. One of the kind of common threads that we really seen is kind of what you said, where these are going to be, Jack is going to be a good personality guy, a good culture guy. Now, as someone who's been in the game as long as you have, what is obviously these guys in our case have to go out there and perform on Sundays, but what is the value of having a good nucleus of guys that want to be there and want to do it the right way?
Well, I think people realize more and more every day just how important that is. Somebody that you can count on, somebody you know exactly what you're going to get from them day in, day out. Somebody that when you start camp is going to be in shape, is going to, learn the playbook. He's just a consistent guy. And, you build your program around consistency and guys that you know exactly what you're going to get day in, day out. And he's the perfect guy. And as I said earlier, what I like so much about him is the bigger the situation, the more he wants the ball. He's going to be a third down guy for sure, that the Raiders are going to go to in critical situations. And so he's just going to make plays for you. He's going to make plays in tough situations. And it's just incredibly invaluable. I mean, it just makes the room different when you have somebody in the room that's just such a good person, is unselfish, and really, honestly, is more worried about the team than he is himself, and that makes everybody better.
Coach, and getting to talk to Jack just a little bit at rookie mini camp the other day, one thing that he brought up and that we've also heard from folks around the league is he has a unique ability to run after the catch, right? To kind of make those contested catches, but then, all of a sudden a 4-yard gain becomes a 7, becomes an 8-yard gain. In kind of
Right.
your experience with him, how is that something that you can kind of teach, or that's just something that guys have it in them to kind of turn upfield and to get those tough, hard-earned yards when it's not easy to do that?
Yeah, I think it's both. I mean, I think it starts with his mentality. He's going to squeeze, the fruit and get every bit of juice out of it. And with his talent, but it's also the same way, with the football. And he's got a great awareness of spacing and timing. And I think both those things are really, really important to run after catch. He's going to get on the same page with the quarterback. He's going to separate at the right time. And he does such a great job getting upfield because the separation occurs later in the route when he's catching the ball as opposed to early in the route. And that's a big part of him just understanding the timing of the game, the timing of the play, the timing of the quarterback. And so when he catches the ball, typically there's the most amount of separation. And again, that's the key to getting upfield. Then he's also physical, and he runs hard. He plays low. He's a strong guy, and he can run through arm tackles. So all those things, I think, contribute to that.
In addition to catching the football, which we hope he does a lot of in 2025, it has become abundantly clear, right? If you're going to play for Pete Carroll, if you're going to play for Chip Kelly, your wide receivers are going to have to block. That is something that he has talked about, something that he's excited to do to kind of show that toughness, that grittiness. Just kind of big picture, Coach, when you're looking at an offense the way that Chip runs an offense and the mentality that Pete is kind of instilling into this program, how valuable is it to have your wide receivers, your skill guys out there being willing to do that dirty work and make sure that they're contributing in that phase of the game as well?
Well, if you go back and you look at Chip's time at Oregon, to me, that was the one thing that was the most overlooked. I mean, it was creative, it was innovative, they had a lot of speed, but they played incredibly physical on the edges. I mean, their receivers, as you said, they blocked. They finished plays. They had a mentality about them that I think really changed that program and made it made their offense so difficult because they would kick out, those little kind of read run screens, and they'd kick those out to the receivers, and they would do it over and over and over again, and they'd get 4 yards, 6 yards, 8 yards, 4 yards, and then all of a sudden, they'd spring a long one. And I think everybody assumed that was because of, the speed of those receivers had and the elusiveness, but it was really because of the physical mentality that they had blocking. And a lot of times those defenders would get tired of defending the play correctly and try to take a shortcut, and all of a sudden they lose their leverage, and a guy, turns the screen into a 40, 50, 60-yard touchdown. And that happened over and over and over again. And, Jack will be really, really good at that. I mean, he takes a lot of pride in his blocking, I think probably as much as he does his receiving ability. He'll be great on special teams. I mean, he's a guy that would have started on 4 teams for us, but he was just so valuable. We tried to keep him off there. He'll contribute to the team in so many different ways, so many ways that the average fan probably won't really understand. And so he's going to be a really valuable guy.
Coach, your program has done such an incredible job over the past few years of getting guys to the next level. And when you kind of look at wide receivers in particular, what do you think the harder or the most challenging part of that transition is from playing in college on Saturdays to then taking that next step and playing in the NFL?
Well, it's interesting. I think some guys have a game that's suited for the NFL. I think sometimes receivers, there's such an emphasis placed on speed, and guys have to be able to run, and Jack can run for a guy that's his size for sure. But I think what Jack's game has that a lot of guys don't is he's just so physical, and he's such a physical route runner, and he can separate from guys that are playing man coverage, and that's probably his biggest ability is to be able to put his body on a defender's body, maintain his space, and then create separation at the right time. And I think his game just translates to the NFL, and so I think his best football is in front of him.
Coach, you talked earlier about, Jack's ability to kind of rise up in the big moments to kind of say, hey, when the lights are the brightest, like, I want the rock, give me a chance to go make a play. And I think there's no better example than the incredible moment he had at the Senior Bowl to kind of bring that win home. Just from a coaching perspective, I mean, how awesome was that for you just to see your guy out there with all of the distractions, with everything, laying so heavy on his heart, for him to go out there and to make a play that's really become one of the plays of the offseason?
Well, I think this probably speaks as much about Jack as anything. I've got an 8-year-old son who was watching that game with me, and as they got the ball and they were driving down, he told me over and over again, "Hey, Dad, Jack's going to score a touchdown last play of the game. You wait and see." And he had been around him enough to know that he was just going to find a way to get it done. And I think it all begins with him wanting to score a touchdown worse than the guy defending him wanted to stop him. And it starts there, and it all goes from there. I mean, he's just a highly competitive person who just loves to compete in practice every day. And so those guys make the plays in those big situations because they want the ball. They're prepared for it. They've done it over and over in their career. And like I said, my 8-year-old son, Daniel, knew it was going to happen, and it played out exactly the way he said it would.
Oh, well, shout out to Daniel. Maybe Daniel in a few years will come work here and help us put some points on the board. But Coach, obviously the whole moment of that touchdown is something that's been talked about a lot. But I kind of want to go back and look at that full week. And the Senior Bowl is really a place where Jack, it feels like kind of, at least from the folks like me, like, oh, who is it? Like, this is someone that we should take note of. When you look now at just the importance of the Senior Bowl, of these All-Star games, how do you encourage your guys to take full advantage of those opportunities and say, hey, like, look, there's going to be guys like Jack who make the most of those opportunities, and it's going to really help them come late April?
Yeah, I mean, I think you just got to look around at people, and if you're a guy like Jack, you want to, you love the competitive part of going and competing. He was not scared to go out there and compete against the very best. He welcomed the challenge. Obviously, he had a lot going on in his private life, that he was dealing with, and he chose to deal with it and turn it into a positive. And so many people, every one of us are going to have things that happen bad in our lives, and as a pro athlete, you're going to have a lot of those things happen. There's going to be things that happen that are out of your control. And how are you going to deal with those situations? And I think it says so much about Jack that, he chose to deal with it and turn it into a positive instead of trying to trying to make an excuse not to participate. He saw it as fuel, and so I think those are the kind of people that make an organization successful. And I think Chip will love him. I think Pete will love him. They're kind of people. Pete's one of the most competitive people I've ever been around, and Chip loves that competition aspect as well. And so he'll thrive in that kind of environment. And that's why those guys are so successful, is because they want to go out there and they want to be tested every day. Pete loves the competitive part of it. He wants to be the best. Chip thinks the same way, and Jack just fits in with those guys. And I think that draft, to me, that draft pick made so much sense just because of the fit. And they have the same views on the world and football for sure.
Well, Coach, we're excited to get to know Jack a little bit more over these coming weeks and months, and ultimately as we get ready for Training Camp 2025, which, gosh, will be here before we know it. Well, hey, I appreciate you so much for giving us a little bit of your time on a very busy day for you. So best of luck this spring, and go win some games in the fall, okay?
Yeah, thanks. Looking forward to it, and looking forward to watching the Raiders this year. Become a big Raiders fan with Pete and Chip and Jack there now. It's going to be fun to watch.
Absolutely. Thank you, Coach. Have a great day, okay?
Okay, you guys take care.